Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 3,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 100 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
Hello, friends. This is Spencer Love, your host of Over the Top Rope on the Win Column Sports Network. Don't forget you can head to wincolumnsports.ca for all of your previews, reviews, and breaking news from the world of wrestling, be it your major promotions or from the great province of Alberta, Canada.
Awesome!
This is your main man RJ from the Ringside Rant, heard only on the Visionaries Wrestling Network. So go over and subscribe across all your major platforms, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher to hear every great interview I have every Monday on the Visionaries Wrestling Network. Go over and follow the show's page on Twitter @_Ringside Rant. Follow the network's page @BizWrestleNet. And, as always, embrace the vision.
If you like podcasts and you are listening to on Backbreaker Media, then you should listen to me, Chris Parrish,
and myself, Maniah,
and the Sounds of Struggle, because we are literally the most entertaining duo you'll ever come across in Western Canadian wrestling, baby.
We talk about things like wrestling
and other sports we like.
Wrestling,
but we won't talk about other sports that we don't like, because it's not that kind of podcast.
Like wrestling.
I mean, we like hockey.
And wrestling.
And we like football.
And wrestling.
And we also like to drink beer.
While wrestling.
Well, not while wrestling, but while watching wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to get into a conversation with Maniac and Chris Parrish, then you need to tune into the Sounds of Struggle live on Backbreaker Media.
Every Thursday.
Is when we hope to drop, but sometimes Mike Malawany doesn't do his job right.
Or we're too drunk to forget.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
He can bleep out the swear word, because we weren't supposed to do that.
Oh,
but
I'll try not to swear. I can't do it.
Yeah. Let's face it, the two of us, we're real.
And spectacular.
And we're a little bit of all right.
Yeah.
We're also strugglicious.
That we are.
That was kind of the key. Supposed to be a strugglicious.
Oh, sorry, I'm drunk.
Yeah. So, if you don't want to listen to us, then no, you're stupid, because we're entertaining. And if you want to listen to us, then come listen to us on Backbreaker Media.
Yeah.
Later,
he said.
Later, bitches.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th episode of Total Nonstop Anarchy. I am your host, Andre C. And, ladies and gentlemen, we have officially entered the asylum. And this is the first episode that we will be covering the NWA TNA weekly pay-per-views. And joining me here on this episode is my good buddy, Nick. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing fine. I've known Nick for probably a good 2-3 years now. We used to work together up north, and we kind of bonded over our love of professional wrestling and comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so your history with TNA, this is some kind of, this stuff is just, looking back at it, it's kind of ridiculous to look back at what wrestling used to be comparatively what it is today. And, like, to some people, this was, like, the peak of pro wrestling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, back in the sort of Attitude Era-ish.
Yeah, and looking at the differences between, it's like, you have midget wrestling, you have some, like, legends who just shouldn't be in this era working around at this point on this show.
Yeah. Don't forget the cage dancers.
Oh, I literally, if you look at my notes, I literally wrote down every time they showed the cage dancers.
They're not even dancing too. That's the funny thing is they're just like I assume they become characters later on in it. Like I don't really know that much about
it's just them cage dancing the entire. Like it's just they're their version of the Nitro Girls, just worse.
Yeah,
is the way I'd put it.
They kind of look like they offered some strippers some blow and were just like stand in a cage, kind of look disinterested, flip your hair and move your hips back and forth, and that's all they did.
Yes, I agree with you 100% on that one. It's just pure crap.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get into this show, and so it's the first episode of the NWA TNA weekly pay-per-views, and they had a big pyro system to start the show, which was not surprising. I wish we still had pyro in this day and era.
Yeah. You definitely add for a lot of the guys, especially in the Fed right now.
Well, if you actually watch the SmackDown 1000, Edge comes out and does his pose, but there's no pyro. and it's so weird to see Edge do his entrance without pyro. And
well, it's like Batista too. He comes out and does like the machine gun thing, and there's nothing firing off in the back.
It's like you could have paid for pyro for those two.
Yeah.
And so they bring out Don West, and he comes out, says it's supposed to be a legendary night, all that stuff as he walks down the ramp. Then he brings out Ed Ferrara. He does the same spiel. Then he kicks it over to Mike Tenay, who's already sitting at the announce booth.
Yeah.
And he says they're making history, and tonight they will respect history, which I don't agree with at all.
I think bringing Ed Ferrara in basically is just like fuck history. The guy looked like some kind of dirty porn producer.
He does. He just looks like the sleaziest guy in the world.
Like dreads, the bad fitting leather jacket, the sunglasses inside in a dark room. Like fuck off, dude.
Like he's wearing when he takes his jacket off later in the show, he's wearing like a button up like shirt that's like should be like any like it's not a Hawaiian shirt, but it's that style shirt. So you know he's just sleazy.
Yeah, I mean he's the guy who points out that the TNA stands for both things in his first little bit there. And then they're talking about total nonstop action, and the first match doesn't come until what, like 19 minutes into the show?
I think it's like 19, 20 minutes. It was so dumb how long it took for them to get to the show. So they promo the main event of the evening, and they say it's a gauntlet for the gold match, but it's not actually a gauntlet match.
Yeah.
A gauntlet match is two men start, one's eliminated, then another comes in, then one's eliminated.
I mean, it does kind of start off that way. Like, they do the 90-second countdowns, and I think the first three guys, Jarrett turfs out before the countdown.
It does feel like a gauntlet to start, but it's a Royal Rumble. It's what it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a Royal Rumble. And so same rules every 90 seconds, which some guys didn't actually follow the 90-second rule.
Yeah, Gangrel came out early.
Yeah. And
as the
Toby
Vampire
Keith
Warrior.
out of nowhere. And then
Toby Keith came in on the zero.
Oh, kind of. Yeah, you're right. And
it hit 90 seconds and he came out. He was a legit entry.
Yeah. So, and then the final two men will face off in a one-on-one match to determine the pinfall or submission to determine the champion. Yeah. So they kick it to the ring, and Jeremy Borash brings out a bunch of NWA legends. So he brings out 8-time NWA champion, Handsome Harley Race. Handsome Harley Race. Brings out Dory Funk Jr., the Fabulous One, Jackie Fargo, and on commentary they were saying he's a first ballot Hall of Famer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Okay, is that? I know the Observer is a big thing to a lot of people, but it's like, is that something you should be pushing on TV?
Oh, careful! Dave Meltzer will say that your boobs look weird.
Trust me, my boobs do look weird. It brings out Bullet Bob Armstrong, Corsica Joe and Sarah Lee, the senior vice president of the NWA, Mr. Bill Behrens, and finally the man that comes out is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and he's carrying the NWA championship. And like Dragon at this point looked really good. Like I'm pretty sure he still had huge back problems at this point, but man, I would have loved to see him get in the ring.
Yeah, no, he looked fine.
I really would have upped this show. So Ricky the Dragon, he thanks the people for coming out, and watching and to people watching at home, and he talks about the history of the title, all them been champions, and how the belt means a lot to them. Compares it to the Stanley Cup, the Super Bowl, the World Series, all that, the biggest title around there. Then
he put it over as much as he could.
Oh yeah, which you're supposed to. Like you're
of course.
You're establishing a new brand, and you want to establish this title as the best belt out there, which I 100% agree with.
Yeah, 100%.
And then he announces himself as the special referee for the main event, like for the final two entrants, or for the final two remaining guys, which I think adds an air of credibility to it because you have a legend, a former champion in there.
Yeah.
So then this whole segment falls apart to me.
When Jeff Jarrett comes out?
Yes. So Jeff Jarrett comes out and he's all pissed off. He says the fact that that the NWA title is being defended in a battle or gauntlet match or battle royal. Yeah. is crap. And says, and then he makes a comment. And he goes, "Dory, you won the belt in 1902." Like just taking a shot at Dory Funk. It was actually 1969, but I thought it was really funny. And
I think the announcers actually say it was 1969 on the show too. They're like, "Oh, that's a cheap shot."
Yeah, they make a shot that it's 1960. It was 1969. He says match is a sham. Tells Fargo, tells him to kiss his ass, and he's talks about a young Jay. It's just
the whole Jarrett Fargo dynamic for the entire show is weird. Like, why are those two specifically like getting into it all the time? Well, super strange.
Fargo, it's with Jeff's father Jerry. They had a relationship for a long time. Okay. So and he literally mentions that he remembers young Jeff Jarrett poo in yellow. Literally, it's exactly. He remembers Jeff Jarrett poo-pooing yellow. I'm like, what?
Like, is he calling him a coward?
I don't know. No, but he's saying
because he's a yellow belly kid or something. That's why he's pooping yellow.
I have no clue. It confused the living heck out of me.
Wacky
and then
American
Fargo,
stuff.
because he's part of the NWA committee, decides, and he makes Jeff Jarrett the first entrant in the gauntlet for the gold match.
Which, as you do, the guy comes in, pisses out the commissioner. He's number one. We've seen that a million times with the Royal Rumble.
And that's the way it should have been. And Jarrett is the number one heel for this company at this time. So it's what makes sense. So then Ken Shamrock comes out, and you expect this guy who's probably one of the more over guys in that company right now. You expect him to come out and defend their match and all this, but he comes out and says, "This match sucks. This shouldn't be a battle royal."
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm number 19, and I'm gonna beat you, and I'm gonna take it, and blah blah blah.
It just, to me, what it would bother me is yes, Jeff Jarrett coming out and saying this match sucks, and it makes sense because he's the biggest heel. Yeah. But for your face to come out and say that,
well, Scott Hall did the same thing too. He comes out and goes "Yeah, this match does suck, but deal with it."
He says
he's telling the fans basically "Yeah, sorry."
It's like we just had to do it, and then Scott Hall comes out and he comes through the crowd too, which I really liked because you can see a lot of people around him freaking out because it's he's coming through the crowd. Oh my god!
Yeah.
And he says this match sucks. And he says stop crying about it and says to focus on beating up one man in this match, and that's Scott Hall.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Jarrett, as he's leaving, he says Fargo will regret this day for as long as he lives because he's pissed off because he got the first entrant.
Mm-hmm.
So they head to the back from there, and with their backstage announcer Goldilocks, who would become a staple in TNA. I think I'm pretty sure she actually gets in the ring at one point in this company.
Man, she was just everything that anyone told her. She looked like she smelled a fart, and then she did the Jim Halpert and looked straight into the camera I don't know.
Oh, damn. She's not good. She's not good, but they just want TNA for their backstage announcer. Simple as that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And she says they have lots of action out in the ring, but we also have lots of action right back here. So she starts talking to a character, the midget Puppet the Psychodorf, who we have talked about in the past on this show from the last 3 shows from working in the WWA. So, hey, crossed over.
Yeah.
And he said he's mad because he's not part of the midgets match, and he said the midgets are the stars. But then Jeff Jarrett just comes through kicking over chairs.
Yeah, completely steals the interview.
and then it just ends, and they cut back to the arena, and it's just okay, great. So
it also seemed kind of dumb to me to like the first backstage promo they run on this brand new promotion, and it's a guy from like a B class part of the company that's talking about why like being mad that he's not in the match. It's like what?
That was Puppet's only appearance on the entire show. On top of it all. Yeah. Like, hey, I know.
I expected a run-in or something from him.
Like, I know he'll appear in subsequent episodes, but it's just like, what was the point of this? Yeah. So we finally get into the first match of the evening, and actually, this match started at 18 minutes 22 seconds.
Oh, there you go.
I didn't actually get the end time of this match, so I can't tell you how long it goes. I apologize. That's what I usually do every show, but I forgot to put the end time on this one. And it is an X Division showcase match. And as they explain, and people know to this day, the X Division isn't about weight limits, it's about no limits. It's about guys who, as big as Sonny Siaki, who's probably, 235 heavyweight?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And you got little, like super small guys like Low Ki and Jimmy Yang in there, all working together. And this, I really, really love this match.
Oh man, the work rate was insane.
Yeah, so
like AJ Styles was so clean the whole match. It's obvious like how he got to where he is.
But this is, as I said on the last episode of this show, and we were talking about AJ Styles working. This is Mr. Intensity AJ Styles. Because when you see him coming out and he's just like keeps flexing and going, yeah, and he's just so intense about everything. He's not even the Styles we'd see about like 2-3 years later. He's this guy who's just like all jacked up and like just ready to fight. Yeah. Yeah. And so we get into the match, and Styles' team, they go for handshakes with the Elvises, but then the Elvises like turn away from them. So those three, the Low Ki, Lynn, and AJ Styles turn around, and they start walking towards the ropes, and then the Elvises just attack and starts the match from there. And then so the Elvises do like the close. The Irish whips, all three of them, but then they all duck like clotheslines, and then Low Ki and Lynn like hit stereo drop kicks, but AJ Styles just says, screw it, I'm going for a Rana. I was just like, can't just hit a drop kick too? It's you expect them all to like hit the move together, right? But then Styles just like, no, I'm going for a Rana, and just does a standing Hurricane Rana. It was just like, the hell. But look really good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna dip off from what everyone else is doing, at least do something that looks good. But like, he didn't have to do a drop kick. Like, it wasn't so perfectly clean in time with everyone else.
No, definitely not. Low Ki ends up doing a suicide dive onto one of the guys that got tossed out, got drop kicked out of the ring, while Jerry is jumping off the top to the other one to the outside. And see, back in the ring, AJ Styles like whips Yang off the ropes and just hits like a beautiful like Randy Orton style power slam.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Like he like even in 2002 you can see how good he is. It's just, and then AJ goes for a whip, but Yang reverses and does this like pop up move, and but he doesn't like grab a powerbomb, doesn't go for a cutter or nothing, just lets him fall to the mat.
Yeah.
It's just like, so, and then runs up and hits just a shining wizard out of nowhere. It looks so good. Like, you just get a 2 count out of it, but like, you see Jimmy Yang here, you just see how good he is. Like, all 6 of these guys are phenomenal in this match.
Yeah, no, it was really cool seeing like how clean, especially like the guys that were, the non-Flying Elvis team there. And even seeing like the Legends' reactions when they all came out is just like, these guys are the future. These guys are the most impressive thing we've got going. And then they have the guys that come out that are just like this crappy gimmick that looks like it came from a movie from like the mid 90s or something like that. And it's just like, oh man.
Yeah. But so,
but not to take away from any of their work rates. Those guys were,
they were phenomenal.
Every man in that ring was sick.
I just didn't care for the Elvis stuff.
Yeah, like they didn't need a gimmick really, but at the same time, like it was that time where it was just like a lot of guys had gimmicks that were just ill-conceived.
Yeah, very much so. So AJ Styles ends up tagging Jerry Lynn in, and Jerry Lynn whips Yang off the ropes and just hits this, like every time I see Jerry Lynn work, he hits this move in every match. It's a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker.
It was so good.
So good, and he gets a 2 count out of it, and it just looks so good. So Lin and Yang, they end up fighting to the corner. Lin hits a tornado DDT, but Yang just pops right back up and just hits the Inzaguri to Jerry Lin. And then Yang whips Jerry to his team's corner and then runs up. And then he does that where he runs to the guy, then runs up the guy's torso, does a backflip, and then shoulder blocks him.
Yeah.
Looks so good. Then he tags in Sonny Siaki. So Siaki gets in, he gets the uppercut, and then goes for like a somersault leg drop, and then misses it though. Lin hits a Hurricane Rana, then does a wheelbarrow bolt, like Rey Mysterio's wheelbarrow bulldog.
Yeah.
And hits that, and then tags in Loki. Loki comes. Oh, go ahead.
Loki had a botch though. I'm sure you'll get to it, but
I'm not sure. What was it?
Jorge Estrada went for like an avalanche, like neck breaker kind of deal on him.
Yeah.
And the way he took it, like he just popped himself on the head real bad.
Okay. That's the one off the corner. I do have that written down in here. So Loki comes in, awesome strikes, but Siaki reverses it, hits like a spinning neck breaker, gets the 2 count. Siaki puts Loki whips him Loki into the corner, but Loki hits a big kick as Siaki runs in. Loki goes for like another kick, but Siaki sets him up for like a powerbomb, then lifts him up, and then gets him onto his shoulder, then does like a Canadian backbreaker drop, and like it looked beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where, and then Estrada gets tagged in, but Siaki hits like a Samoan drop close to their corner, and this is like my favorite guy coming into this match is Estrada. Jumps off the one rope, lands like how Christopher Daniels does that when he jumps up, hits that moonsault, and then flips backwards.
Yeah.
Lands 2 legs on the rope, and does the flip and hits the moonsault on a Loki. Looked beautiful. Like I'm not super familiar with Estrada, but he looked really good in this match.
Oh yeah, I mean everyone was working really well, but he was the one out of the Flying Elvises that really surprised me.
Yeah, like I've seen Sonny Siaki in the past. I know he's good. Jimmy Yang, we all know from his run in WWE, looking phenomenal.
Yeah,
which would start actually not too far after this, not too long after this. And then Estrada was just a surprise for me in this match. So this is where Estrada puts Loki up onto the top rope, but like kind of sitting facing outwards. Then gets him with like a hangman's neckbreaker, and he runs forward, but then Loki just kind of falls off the rope.
Oh man, it looks so bad.
Lands on his ass, and then gets neckbreakered onto the ground. It just looks so weird.
Yeah, that was definitely the big botch of the match.
Yeah, I thought it looked so weird. And for the big botch of the match, at least it was a minor botch. Like it was like the moves still hit and everything, so it wasn't like it was horrible, but you could tell like it was a mess up. Yeah,
I mean Loki got up quick enough and back into it that like you could kind of be like, oh yeah, that sucked, but it didn't take you out of it.
Yeah.
And then he was right back to his usual like hitting ridiculously hard self.
Well, yeah, because Loki ends up ducking a clothesline and then kicks the legs out from Estrada. And then he just starts does like a couple like Daniel Bryan yes kicks, then just does the Yakuza kick to the head. Oh man, I would not want to be kicked by Loki.
I actually wrote down when he did those yes kicks that I was just like, Loki kicked really hard, looked painful.
Like it's brutal. Like his kicks like just are just sick. So
I don't think he even slaps his thigh. I think he just actually kicks you.
Yeah. So and Yang and Styles end up tagging in, and Styles hits like a moonsault, like his moonsault inverted DDT on Yang. I love that every time he does it, and it only gets better.
Mm-hmm.
I love that move. It's just like you gotta be perfect on that because I've seen him mess it up multiple times. It's so good.
Yeah. If you screw that up, you could really hurt both guys.
So Styles goes for like a German suplex, but Yang lands on his feet and hits like a big wheel kick onto Styles for a 2 count. But then Loki comes in, breaking it up. And so Loki comes in, he sends AJ Styles ends up rolling to the apron. Then he kind of sends Yang over the top onto the apron, then hits like I gotta call it a cartwheel heel kick, where he kind of like he flips over and then hits the heel kick to the head. They call it the title crush. And
I mean that's been part of his repertoire for a while though.
Oh,
He still uses it now.
Oh yeah, he does, but I just find it beautiful. Like it's just for that flip over or like that cartwheel over and hits the kick looks so good.
Yeah.
So then he sends Yang out. Then Estrada comes in and he hits like a sky high low power bomb onto Loki. And he goes for a pin, which is neither man is legal, which is like what the hell.
It's not the last time you'll see something like that, though.
No, not even bit. So then Lin comes in, breaks it up, hits a cradle pile driver on Estrada. Then Siaki comes in and hits this like a big neck breaker onto Lin. Then Styles comes in, hits an enziguri to Siaki. Then Styles and then Yang comes in. They fight, and then Styles pulls Yang to the corner. Like Styles is against the turnbuckle. Yang's like in front of him. Like Yang, he's holding Yang to his chest, but like Yang's facing the other way. And then Loki goes for like a cartwheel into like a jumping high kick, but Yang like ducks out of the way and he kicks Styles right in the face, like legit kicks Styles in the face. Loved it.
Didn't look staged at all.
No. So then Estrada comes off the top, missile drop kicks Loki out of the ring, and then Yang goes to the top with AJ Styles down and hits like his corkscrew moonsault. Eventually called it Yang time, and he wins the match, and the Flying Elvises win the match.
Yeah.
I really love this. This is a great first match for this company.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised, just given the direction of how everything was sort of looking like it might be going towards the more like we're hardcore now, that they would actually give it to a gimmick stable and start off the company on a heel victory. But I mean, fair enough.
I think they
proved themselves in the ring.
Well, I think a part of it was that they wanted to accentuate the Elvises because you had Styles, Loki, Jerry Lynn, and Psychosis all next week for the next episode would be in the X Division title match.
Right.
So I think giving the Elvises because then having Yang pin Styles, I know Yang wouldn't be long for this company, but you could kind of be setting up Yang to be a challenger down the road.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's more about giving the victory to the gimmick group. Like.
Yeah.
It just seemed sort of like it was going to start off on the note of like these are the serious guys and give them the win. But then as you watch the show, it definitely was not a very serious company.
No, it really wasn't. So, like, the Elvis started celebrating, then it just abruptly cuts to the women dancing in cages.
Yeah.
So it's for about 30, 40 seconds of them dancing in cages. It's just like, I'm like, when is this going to end? Then it cuts back to the ring, and it's time for the midget match. Match number 2 of the night. And it's Hollywood versus Tio. And Tio, he's the other midget that we've seen on multiple shows. He's been involved in the WWE Allstars. So everybody, the fans of this podcast should be familiar with Tio. And so Tio comes in. He's I think Hollywood's already in the ring.
Yeah.
Tio comes in. He gets up on the ropes to like cheer the crowd, and then Hollywood just starts attacking him. And I have to say this before anything starts. I don't like midget matches.
Well, they don't move well. Like, obviously,
I can't
you know the Swanton at the end of the match? That's just him falling off the top rope sideways.
Yeah. I can't help but laugh when I watch these guys because to me, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, like, one spot I really did like in this, though, was Tio, like, had knocked Hollywood down in the corner. He was, like, sitting there in the corner. And he runs up, like, runs off his chest, jumps up, like, goes up onto the top rope, and then comes down, headbutting Hollywood in the balls. This is not the first time I've seen him do this move, and I'm impressed by it every time. And he does another move that I've seen him do every time I've seen him wrestle. And like he gets the Hollywood in the corner, he goes up and hits like a 10 punches, but then he just humps Hollywood in the face.
Yeah, it's a reverse stink face. It's a dink face.
Yeah. The dink face, I like it. Hollywood at one point ends up on the top rope and hits they call it a frog splash. I called it a tadpole splash because that's what it was in the WWE.
Yeah.
They just would hit that, and he gets a 2 count. They brawl back and forth. Teal actually hits the first technical match of the night, technical move of the night, and he hits a side Russian leg sweep.
Yeah, he did.
And it's the setup for his finisher because he's like the extreme midget, right? That's what he's calling himself.
Well, they both sort of were in that same early 2000s thing of if you don't have a gimmick, be extreme or look like Eminem.
Yeah, but Teal's gimmick is he's the extreme midget. So he goes to the top rope, and the swanton he does, it doesn't look anything. I thought he was it's
almost a barrel roll.
Yeah, it was like a barrel roll onto Hollywood, and Teal gets the win. And I think this match went just shy of 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say about 3.
Yeah, I'm looking at the timing. 26. It started at 26 minutes 15 seconds, ended at 29 minutes 5 seconds. So just shy of 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
That kind of match though, they can't go long. If you made that a 40-minute epic,
no,
you'd get minus 5 stars.
it wouldn't work at all. No, there's no way.
Yeah, it's a gimmick.
So they cut back to more girls dancing in the cages, and they talk about NWA TNA.com, which now is just Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
So they cut back to the ring, and it's Ed Ferrer and Dawn West in the ring talking about next week's lingerie battle royal.
Mm-hmm. Cue the worst segment of promos I think I've ever seen.
So I got every girl's name, so I'm gonna list them out, and I'm leaving one for the end. So all the girls come out. Francine, ECW alum, somebody named Miss Joni, Daphne from WCW, Sasha, no idea, Erin, the Baltimore Ravens cheerleader, ECW alumnus Elektra, Taylor Vaughn, Jerusa Tyler, no idea, and the person who she actually came in earlier, but I had to save it for the end, and Alexis Laree. So if anybody knows the wrestling, this is Mickie James.
Yeah, she looked like she's about 11.
Yeah, she looks so young. This is when she first broke into the business. And it's just so weird because if you look at Mickie James now,
mm-hmm.
and it's just a different person. It's just oh my god, because I've always thought of her as this more of a serious wrestler. I know she came in 2005 when it was
the stalker gimmick,
but she was always known as a wrestler, as a really good wrestler. But this is just she's in a lingerie battle royal.
Yeah, she's a diva.
I just laughed so hard.
Yeah, it took me a second to realize who she was, and I was like, oh my god, really?
So they announced that they will be in this battle royal to be named Miss TNA, the winner.
Yeah, so not even a belt on the line necessarily. They don't have anything like that unveiled. Nothing.
No, they wouldn't have a women's title till I think 2006.
Okay.
Or 2006, yeah, it's that about that time. Or no, maybe 2007 even. Francine starts bitching and saying all the other women suck. She's the best.
I'm the queen of extreme.
Then Elektra comes back at her, putting her down. This isn't ECW. You're not. This isn't extreme anymore. And then they get into a cat fight. Simple as that. And then Francine tears Elektra's top off. This is just pure TNA.
And then she rolls out of the ring and goes, that's what I'm going to do to all of you. I'm going to make you show your lingerie. And it's what? Don't you mean beat them up?
Oh, dude. I've watched this episode getting ready for my doing the next episode. This match sucks.
The promo was a highlight compared to
the promo is 5 times better than the actual battle royal. Simple as that. So then they cut to more girls dancing in cages.
Where they just had a ring full of girls.
I write this down every time. And then they cut to the back again, and it's Goldilocks interviewing Mortimer Plumtree. And dude's just creepy.
You see, I had actually never seen Mortimer Plumtree or the Johnsons before this. I knew about them. I knew that they were a thing.
Yeah.
But, like, I really got vibes that he was ripping off the ROTC captain from Animal House.
Yeah. I never even thought about that, but I think you're right.
That's really, like, what he was giving. He had that same sort of, like, speech cadence, the same sort of, like, leaning into certain words. You know, push the whole, I went to Harvard and now I can make people do things. Like,
Yeah.
it really made me think of that character.
It does. And, like, he's just creepy because he says these guys were his bullies when he was younger, but now that he's smarter and successful, they're now his servants, and he can make them he says, this is his words, he can make them wear what he wants and do what he wants.
Yeah.
And the wear what he wants part, this dude's weird if he wants them to wear this shit.
Rod and Dick Johnson.
So so they go back to the ring, and out comes Mortimer Plumtree with the Johnsons, who are literally men dressed in flesh-colored outfits that look like giant penises.
Yeah.
Like that's essentially what it is. They're meant to look like giant penises.
They're big dudes too.
Richard and Ron, or Ron and Dick, the Johnsons, with Mortimer Plumtree, and they're taking on Psychosis, who will be in the X Division title match next week on the next show.
And a young James Storm.
A very young James Storm, who's like wearing like a full long duster coat, but he's like he would wear a duster his entire career, but like he had it done up, which I found so weird. Him walking.
He didn't have the same sort of size he has now too, though. He might have just been kind of self-conscious.
No, and then so he takes the duster off when he gets on the top rope, then he just starts shooting guns off.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's up with the guns? It's like, and then I think one of the commentators goes, I thought cowboy gimmicks were outlawed since the 90s. Which is like, I get it. This is like over the top cowboy gimmick right now. He hasn't become the true cowboy James Storm yet.
Someone get him a beer.
Yeah, pretty much. He hasn't started drinking beer yet. So it starts the match as Johnson, one of the Johnsons. I don't know who's who.
The commentators didn't even know.
Yeah, and then he beats on Psychosis and hits like a double underhook suplex for a 2. Then hits a normal suplex for a 2. Then the Psychosis comes back, hits like a spin kicks to the Johnson. Then the other Johnson comes in. Trust me, this is going to get...
to the Johnson.
It's going to sound bad. It's going to get really confusing. I'm going to keep saying Johnson. Because at one point, I can't keep it... For the first little bit, I was like, Johnson, that's Johnson number 1, that's Johnson number 2. Then I just realized I don't know which Johnson is the Johnson.
They got practically the same build. You can't really make out their face very well, so it's kind of like... If
they were different sizes, it'd be easier to tell. But they can pull twin magic.
Yeah, they can.
So the other Johnson comes in, but James Storm comes off the top, hits a missile dropkick, and then they grab the first Johnson and throw him up to the outside. Then all of a sudden, this girl just comes out, Alicia.
Yeah.
And she's just standing there the entire match, just standing there and observes the match.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
Good looking though.
Yeah, definitely. And then James Storms is in with a Johnson and gets arm dragged by a Johnson. It's like saying Johnson. So James Storms gets back on the attack and hits another wheelbarrow bulldog in this show, and then tags in Psychosis. Psychosis comes in attacking the Johnson, but the Johnson on the outside grabs him like by the hair as he goes for like he goes off the ropes, and like pulls him down to the mat, and then both Johnsons are in to hit a double Johnson flapjack. I legit have this written down.
Nice.
One of the Johnsons hits like an overhead belly to belly suplex, then tags in the other Johnson, and they hit a double Johnson shoulder block. And then one of the Johnsons goes for like a power bomb, but Psychosis reverses it into an X Factor.
Yeah.
And Storm gets tagged in. He comes in and he actually brawls off both. He beats on both the Johnsons.
He beats off the Johnsons, eh?
He beats off both the Johnsons. And then the Johnsons end up fighting back. They get the advantage. And they and they hit both Psychosis and James Storm with suplexes. So double Johnson suplex. Then Storm comes back, gets the advantage. He goes for like a tornado DDT, but misses. So then he's fighting back and forth with one of the Johnsons, and he goes to run off the ropes, but Mortimer Plumtree ends up grabbing his leg and stopping him.
Mm-hmm.
And like James gets distracted and turns around, and one of the Johnsons gets him up, hits him with the TKO, and 3 count, and it's over. And the Johnsons win.
Yeah.
Just
so
shy
another
of 5
gimmick
minutes.
heel victory.
Yeah, just shy of 5 minutes for a win for the big Johnsons. And I'm indifferent to this match. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It just was there.
Yeah, I mean, there really wasn't that much to say for that match. Like, the Johnsons were not very good bumpers.
No.
And because of that, like, their selling wasn't very good, which made James Storm and Psychosis not really look that good, even though they were doing some fairly impressive stuff to some big dudes.
Yeah.
And I honestly would have rather seen, kind of nitpicky, but I would have rather seen a trip from Mortimer with the cane that he had, instead of just like that really quick ankle grab and then he lets go.
I agree. 100%.
That would have been a much better finish, I feel like.
Oh, I agree 100%. So after the match, we get to the real meat of real reason we were having this match, and Alicia's back on the outside, and referee, who they call him Slick, but he will be known eventually as Slick Johnson.
Oh yeah.
He goes to leave, but Alicia's like getting in the way of him. Then he just pulls out his wallet and gives her money. So, question is Alicia a hooker?
I don't know. She could be helping those Johnsons.
she's the hookers hanging out the side, waiting for the Johnsons, I guess. But yeah, it just I don't know. I was just like, this was pointless. Like, there's no backstory to it. What's the point?
Yeah. I like I said before, I'm not super familiar with the NWA TNA, like the full storyline of stuff. Does anything ever come of that?
I'm not.
Or is that just a dropped storyline?
I'm not 100% sure. I have only watched, like I said, I watched part of the episode for next week, for the next episode, getting ready for the next show, and I'm not 100% sure how where this goes to. Like, I didn't start watching TNA till 2004, so these early days I don't know a lot about. There's gonna be a lot of surprises for me.
I don't think I ever saw an episode of TNA until the Bromans were already like on a hot streak.
Oh Jesus, you came in very, very late.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I came in like 2004 after Jeff Hardy showed up, and I'm not 100% sure where this goes, but we'll keep you updated on the story of Alicia, ladies and gentlemen.
See if it ever goes anywhere.
Yep. So they cut to the back again, and Goldilocks is with the Dups.
Yeah.
And so you have Stand Up, Bowed Up, and Fluffed Up. And you find out that Fluffed Up is their girlfriend.
And their cousin.
But the best part about this is Stand Up. That's what's his name? Trevor Murdoch from the WWE.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he eventually would go on to the WWE to become Trevor Murdoch.
Oh, I didn't recognize him at all.
Yeah, because the blonde hair, he's like way trimmer than he was. Like, he'd kind of have a beer belly going when he got to the WWE. Like, he was in incredible shape here. Did not look like Trevor Murdoch of probably about 5 years later.
Huh.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they cut back to the ring, and they bring out Hermie Sadler and Sterling Marlin, NASCAR guys.
Yeah.
I don't really know anything about NASCAR.
They were big deals.
I know Hermie Sadler gets involved with this company. He keeps coming back for years and years and years. Like, he's involved with TNA, I think, for at least the next 10 years after this. So
no way.
That's
Crazy.
the only reason I know the name Hermie Sadler is because of his involvement in TNA.
Huh.
And then K-Crush, or otherwise known as Ron Killings,
R-Truth,
or R-Truth now.
What's up?
He would eventually rename himself, because K-Crush was his name in the WWE, I think, in the late 90s. Then he came to TNA, it was still K-Crush, and then we changed it to Ron Killings.
Well, he was K-Quick at one point too, right?
K Quick, sorry, and then he became K Crush here. Then he eventually becomes Ron Killings here. Then he goes back to WWE and becomes R-Truth.
Yeah.
So he comes out. He, general heel work. Talks like hates on race car driving. Tells the drivers their shit. Tells Sadler and Marlon they don't look like athletes.
Yeah, and then he drops a bunch of like predominantly black sports as like those are athletes.
He keeps talking like my people are athletes. Like, those people, like he's like obviously saying black people.
Yeah.
And then attacks Hermie Sadler. And then who comes up to save him? Brian Lawler. Or they call him at this point. Actually, they call him Brian Lawler.
They call him both.
Yeah, they do.
I actually made a note of it. They got confused. They call him Brian Lawler, I think, the first time you see him, and then the first time you see him in the Gauntlet.
He's Brian.
And then he's back to Brian Christopher immediately for the rest of the commentary.
So yeah, Brian Lawler, Brian Christopher, as we like to call him, Grandmaster Sexay.
Yeah.
He comes out, hits he pops. I'm gonna keep saying R-Truth up, and like into the air, then brings him down with like an inverted atomic drop. Looked really good. Then hits a super kick, and then Sadler and Marlon grab Killings and throw him over the top. And dude did a huge flip, landed back first onto the ground.
Man, he could work back in the day.
Oh, if you actually watch him, he can still work pretty well.
Yeah.
Not great, but he can still work pretty well.
Well, he gets stuck carrying some of the younger guys sometimes, and his gimmick gets in the way a bit of his ring work.
Oh yeah, very much. Especially right now, it's all about the comedy and the dancing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Lawler gets in the mic, calls Crush a he just supposed to say mother effer, but he calls him a mofo. And then they eventually challenges Crush to a match next week, and he's going to have Hermie Sadler and Sterling Marlin in his corner, and and the match becomes official, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you say, I want this match, and it's a match.
Yeah, I don't really remember any like GMs coming out and making matches at any point.
It sounded more like you had the commentary guys making the match.
Yeah, there's a lot more of the inmates running the asylum kind of deal.
Very much so. So from then there they go back to girls in cages dancing.
Yep.
And then they cut to the back, and Jared is beating the crap out of Jackie Fargo.
Yeah.
Yeah, simple. And then
that's it.
Then you just cut back to the ring. It was very, very weird.
Yeah, like one thing actually about the R-Truth Brian Christopher thing that you didn't mention too is, although R-Truth is sort of like your people aren't athletes, my people are athletes kind of thing, Brian Christopher, the white embodiment of hip hop, comes out and starts defending his people with his promo and his attack too. And so they very much made it like a big race thing there for both guys involved. Yeah,
which you really don't need to do in pro wrestling.
It's the time though. It's the same thing as the Booker T Triple H. People like you will never be champion.
Don't even get me started on my hatred for that freaking program.
Such a waste. Yeah, such a waste of Booker T.
Oh, very much so. So after the Jarrett attacking Fire thing, they just cut back to the ring, and it's going to be a tag team match. You got the Dups, Bo and Stan, with their girlfriend / cousin manager fluffed up, taking on Christian York, who was one of Jeff and Matt Hardy's guys they started up on the independent scene with.
Yeah.
And Joey Matthews, who would go on to WWE as Joey Mercury.
That's what I thought too. I was looking at it, I was like, that's Joey Mercury, right? And
literally, in my notes, I write Mercury instead of Matthews at a bunch of points.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so and again, Joey Matthews actually was in that Omega area when the Hardys were on the independent scene. He worked in Omega with them too. So, yeah. So, as I mentioned before, stand-up is Trevor Murdoch. Mm-hmm. Then the match starts, the Dups beat, like they get into there, they beat up on both men. Then they hit a double flapjack, as I wrote, to Mercury. Or Joey Matthews, and they go for a dual clothesline on Matthews, but he ducks, and then York does a springboard double drop kick. Like, man, I've never really seen much of Christian York's work, But man, can that guy work.
Yeah, no, I definitely was pretty impressed by him and Mercury's work. I wasn't really that impressed by the Depths, but they did a lot of decent like tag work together. Like when they were going sort of one-on-one in the ring, they weren't that impressive, but they did some cool stuff together.
Yep. So York gets the advantage. Then Mercury comes in. They get a double suplex on, I think it was Stan for a 2 count. Stan ends up getting to the corner, tags in Bo. Bo, he is just attacking Matthews and gets a big boot on Matthews, gets a 2 count. Stan then gets tagged back in and then keeps beating down on Matthews until Matthews gets the reversal and hits like a Virginia necktie. It was like some kind of neck breaker.
Mm-hmm.
And both York and Bo are in, and York just starts attacking Bo. York goes for a sunset flip on Bo'd Up, but like he's trying to pull, like he flips over him, and he's grabbing him. So Bo just jumps up and he goes for like just a drop down on him with his ass, but like York just rolls out of the way. I love it.
It was good.
Yeah, and then York gets Bo to the corner, hits the 10 punches in the corner. But then Stan comes running in, then York just leaps backwards and just hits a back elbow to him. Then York gets Bo up on his shoulders, hits him with like a wasteland, like he's up on his shoulders and just flips him forward.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm talking about Barrett's old move.
Yeah.
And then hits a standing senton
I was
splash.
disappointed he didn't do the Barrett yell.
That'd be great. Then he hits like a standing senton splash that the referees call the cutting edge for a 2 count before Stan breaks it up. Then Matthews comes in and like grabs Stan and like runs him over the top rope. They both like or kind of like runs him in the top rope and like Matthews hits him like a Cactus Jack style crossbody and they both go tumbling to the outside kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then York hits a tornado DDT on Bo. Then York goes to the top rope and go kind of like for a moonsault or something. But he stands up there for a ridiculously long time.
Yeah, you could tell that
the
something
timing was
wasn't
off.
quite lined up right.
I think Stan was supposed to interfere originally, but he wasn't out of position. So you kind of see Fluff come out of nowhere and just she barely hits him, and then he takes the crotch into the corner.
It was a good call though.
Yeah, but I think
she saw that it was all screwed up and went, shit, I got to do something.
It's a good save. It was a good save. And so he kind of crotches and falls to that, and then Bo just grabs him, rolls him up, and it's over.
Yeah.
The ending came out of nowhere to me.
Yeah, I mean, if it had been done probably the way that we are talking about how it should have been done, it might have come out pretty good, but
yeah.
Even then, it still wouldn't have been a great finish.
No.
And again, we're back in with the weird trend they've got going of the more serious seeming guys getting fucking beaten.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a single like serious guy victory on the card other than
the main
final.
Yeah, I really don't think so. And yeah, this match went just shy of 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
a lot of short matches.
This is for outside of the main. I enjoyed this match. This is probably my third favorite match of the night. Mostly getting to see Christian York and Joey Matthews work because I like both those guys, and seeing Trevor Murdoch in his early days to stand up.
Yeah,
it's kind of what it was for me. It's just seeing guys before they became really famous in Matthews and Murdoch. Really, that's really it. So from there, guess where we go?
We're going to the end.
No. But guess what they cut to?
Oh yeah, back to the cage girl.
More girls dancing. Simple as that. So then they go to a video on Toby Keith, and it's pretty much a music video for How Do You Like Me Now?
Yeah, just for a little bit there, though.
Like for about 30 seconds of the video, then they cut back to the arena, and then they introduce Toby Keith, who,
is going to sing a song.
But you gotta also look at it. Toby Keith was at a huge height of popularity at this point.
Yeah.
So for them to bring a guy like him in was kind of huge.
Yeah, and he was doing his gonna put my foot in Osama bin Laden's ass song, and it was...
Yeah, well, he had been so pro-American after 9/11 and everything, and he became probably one of the biggest country stars in the world.
Yeah.
So him coming out and playing this like super patriotic, this is like I don't know what this song is. I really don't. I'm not a country fan.
It is the "Break My Foot Off" inside Osama bin Laden's ass song.
Okay, so again, I don't know it.
Because he's the angry American.
Ah, the angry American. Oh, I knew that part, but yeah. So crowd is really into this, into the song. Like,
oh yeah.
It's okay. Remember, we're in Nashville, in the asylum, and this is Southern America.
Yeah, we're in country territory playing country music with the biggest country star that was around at the time.
And in a time that everybody's very patriotic at that point. You got like probably the most patriotic singer in the world. Everybody's getting behind him. It's just what it is. Though when Jarrett came out and pushed Toby Keith, the boos were just huge.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So Toby comes up, push Toby Keith. Then Toby like chasing him down, trying to fight him, but security's holding him off.
Jarrett cuts because it wasn't really that much of a push. He could have finished the song.
He really could have, but it's the way it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, it was, don't you disrespect America like that.
Pretty much. And
he went full Sergeant Slaughter Iraqi sympathizer.
Oh yeah, and then Jarrett goes in, cuts a promo saying nobody wants to hear that song or see Toby Keith play. They're here to watch me wrestle. He wants the match. The main event started now, so we end up going to the main event of the night, and is the gauntlet for the gold for the NWA Heavyweight Championship, and it's a 21 man if we count it by the way I'm looking at it.
If you count Jarrett, then yeah, it's 20 men enter. 20
men, but I'm gonna count 21. There's a 21st entrant in this match.
Yeah.
So, in the second man out to the ring is Buff Bagwell.
Yeah, Buff's got the stuff.
Buff the stuff Bagwell, and he dominates early on.
For like 15 seconds.
15, 30 seconds. Hits like a Buff blockbuster. As I always hated the name of that move. I always thought it should be called the Buff Buster. Come on, isn't that a way better name, the Buff Buster?
Yeah, throwing the block in there kind of puts too many words in your mouth.
The Buff Blockbuster. Oh yeah. But you also got to remember, Buff Bagwell is a gigolo.
CowboysForAngels.com.
Yeah. Wow, you knew that. Oh my god.
Oh, I knew that.
Nice. So, ends up being Buff Bagwell gets eliminated by a backdrop from Jarrett before the next entrant even comes out.
Yeah, good 20 seconds before.
Yeah, so he stands around for a few, he's yelling and stuff. Then out comes...
They do kind of go gauntlet style on that, because I noticed the clock actually got cut from the screen and the guy came out a little early.
He did, yeah. So out comes Lash LaRue from WCW legend Lash LaRue.
Yeah.
So he comes in, Jarrett just beats the living crap out of him.
He sold really well.
Yeah, hits a stroke, then just throws him out. Again, they cut the clock away.
Yeah. A lot of very unceremonious, just sort of dump outs in this one, actually. Not a lot of showy eliminations until later on.
Everything was, I think, majority of them were either backdrops or toss outs.
Yeah, there's only two guys I can think of that actually did a couple cooler things.
Yeah,
we'll get to them when they get in.
Yeah. So and then out comes Screaming Norman Smiley, and
the wiggle is the best thing that I've ever seen.
Oh, I love the wiggle. He does the standing wiggle, and then Jarrett attacks him. Then he gets Jarrett next to the ropes and does the wiggle on the ropes.
Where he does yeah, because Barrett's bouncing off the rope, Jarrett's bouncing off the rope. Norman Smiley gives him a little finger wag, and he stops and kind of looks at him confused, and he does the wiggle, and I was like, yes!
He goes into the wiggle, but that's where Jarrett low blows him when he's doing, when he's trying
punches
to...
him right in the smiley.
Right in the smileys. And then he just tosses Norman Smiley out.
Yeah. Really looked at this point like he was on pace for going right to the end.
Yeah. So, and then the next man to come out was Apollo. And this is kind of where the
first roadblock he gets.
This is the first part of the match where it becomes feels like a rumble, and it starts to build up. So Apollo comes out.
Yeah.
Then K-Crush / Ron Killings comes out. Then Slash. Never heard of him before.
Yeah. Weird dude.
Then there's a guy that comes out named Del Rios.
Yeah. So I actually looked him up because I was curious. Yeah. He looks exactly like Scott Steiner.
Yes.
But he's not.
No.
Of course. He was in the WWF at one point. I can't remember the name of his character, but he's like some kind of like Phantasmo. He was the magician.
Oh, really?
That's who he was.
I will get to this, but I swear he looks like Scott Steiner for a reason in this match. I'll get to it. Then out comes Justice, who, in my notes I wrote fatty in a singlet.
Yeah.
And then
It's Abyss.
Say it again?
Justice is Abyss.
Was that Abyss?
Yeah, it's Abyss.
I didn't even realize. Dude,
I looked at his face and I'm like, that's Joseph Park, isn't it?
I've ridden in a car with that motherfucker for an
that was
hour and a
Abyss.
half, and how did I not realize that was Abyss?
Yeah.
Holy shit! I did not realize that was Abyss.
Yeah.
Okay, I look like a dumbass now.
Well, you'll have to ride in the car with him again and be like, "Are you Justice?"
Yeah. Shit. Yeah. So, okay, Abyss comes out as Justice. I literally wrote fatty in a singlet. I kind of feel bad now because I know
I
the
hope
guy.
he doesn't listen to this.
I really hope he doesn't. Then Kona comes out.
Because, of course, every promotion that's going to have a first TV airing has to have Conan.
It's simple as that, Conan.
He's keeping it 100.
Keep it 100. He stole that from the guys from the Law. They had the show Keep It 100 first.
I'm not even slightly surprised.
I can tell you that for 100% sure. And then out comes Bruce, introduced by Joel Gertner, one of the members of the Hollywood.
The
West
creepiest
Hollywood
little entry poem ever.
Oh, creepy. One half of the West Hollywood Blondes. And then out comes Rick Steiner. Now, Rick Steiner...
First guy to actually drop some cool stuff.
So Rick Steiner is the reason I think Del Reyes was looking like Scott Steiner in this match. Because he comes in and beats the crap out of him.
Yeah.
I think he just wanted to make it look like he was beating the crap out of his brother.
Yeah, well, I was at first like, is Del Reyes just like a side name for Scott Steiner? And then I realized the guy's about 4 inches shorter and 40 pounds lighter.
Yeah, but he literally had the Superman symbol on his tights. He looked like blonde hair,
brown soul patch. Yeah.
Yep, everything. But I think it was literally so
no chainmail though.
Could
3 out of 10.
I think it was just so Rick Steiner could beat on him. But Rick Steiner, he does it like he comes in and lifts the guy up and then flips him up in the air and drops him.
Yeah.
I loved it. It looks so good.
Yeah, no, Rick Steiner was the first guy I feel like when it started to become more of a rumble to actually come out and do something interesting. Like a lot of guys came out and sort of would like run the ring and kick a few people, brawl some people, but like he was the first guy that really looked like came out and did some moves.
Yeah, was hitting big moves. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from there, the next elimination of the match was Slash by Steiner via a backdrop.
Yeah.
Then he eliminates Justice or Abyss, as I feel really bad now. Steiner eliminates via clothesline over the top rope.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then comes in the man who is the elimination king of this match, Malice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Malice is in, and boy, did he go on a elimination spree.
Is he anybody? Like, is he someone else, or is he just Malice?
I'm not 100% sure. Like, I've never really thought to look him up.
Yeah.
I should have before this. I'm going onto my phone right now to look him up because I really need to know at this point. Like,
because like he had a decent look. It was kind of evident that he was pretty green. I feel like as a wrestler, but like, I mean, he could have had somebody be dreaming about big sweaty men like Vince McMahon.
Yeah, but like for the gimmick, he had the right manager for the gimmick, right?
Yeah. He was sort of doing like an Apostles thing. Yeah,
he was with Father James Mitchell, who was the guy who was always okay. So I got Malice right here. Jerry Tweet is his gimmick, is the gimmick name. Oh, he's the Wall.
Oh yeah, there you go.
WCW, he's the Wall.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
And Sergeant AWOL also. He wrestled, and then he wrestled for TNA between 2002 and 2003 as Malice.
There you go.
There we go. He's the Wall. Yeah.
There you go.
How did I not realize that?
Yeah. It's not like he looked any different.
He best known as the Wall. Simple as that. So from here, when he cuts in, Malice just becomes the elimination king of this match.
Oh, he does the full round of choke slams for everybody too.
Yeah, he just choke slams everybody. Then
he got some good height on those too. You knew what he was doing with that move.
Oh yeah. And then grabs Bruce, throws him the heck out. Grabs
Yeah.
K-Crush, tosses him the heck out. Grabs Del Rio, tosses him the heck out. Grabs Conan, tosses him the hell out. Grabs Rick Steiner, tosses him the hell out. Or, sorry, Rick Steiner ran at Malice, and Malice dropped down, pulled the rope, and Steiner went
rope
over.
pull. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was wrong on that one. I apologize.
All good, buddy.
And then, so, yeah, it's a lot of eliminations for Malice. And then out comes the legend of the match, Scott Hall.
Yeah.
So,
Who is the coolest person in the ring the whole match?
So before Scott Hall comes out, Malice and Jeff Jarrett are beating up on Apollo, and he kind of rolls to the apron, and then Scott Hall's music plays, and then they both turn to look at Scott Hall. Apollo just climbs up onto the top rope
He just waits there.
and just sits there.
And the commentators are like, that seems kind of dumb.
And then Scott Hall gets in the ring. And then he brawls with Malice and Jeff Jarrett. Apollo still sits there.
Yeah.
And then Malice kind of breaks off from the group of three. And then Apollo just jumps down. And they just start brawling with Malice.
Well, he doesn't even do like a cool jump down. Like he just kind of
Just drops down.
sits down dangling his feet, and then he just sort of scoots off.
Yeah, just dropped down. That was all he did.
Like, I can imagine someone backstage was losing their mind watching the feed. Like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah, I thought it was the dumbest freaking thing in the world.
Yeah. Like, at least, later in the match, Scott Hall, sits on the top as well, but, only for a second, and it's, because he's being super cool.
But that's Scott Hall being cool Scott Hall. That's what that was about. Apollo was just Apollo was waiting to come off
Apollo
of the move.
Yeah,
He
Scott Hall
wanted to
didn't
hit
look
a move.
stupid.
That was
Apollo
it.
just looked weird.
Yeah, he wanted to come off, hit a move, and do something, but the guy's never got in a position for him. That was simple as that.
The thing is that brawl that he was watching was right in the middle of the ring. If he wanted to, he could have gotten up and done a missile drop kick. He could have done an axe handle, whatever he wanted to do. He had the chance.
But you never do that to a guy who's not facing you, who's not ready for the move. That's the thing.
I'm sure he was waiting, and then he realized he was waiting too long, and then he just gave up.
That's pretty much it. So Scott Hall gets Jarrett up, hits an outsider's edge. And then the man who I put in as entrant number 15, because he entered at the 0 mark, Toby Keith.
Toby Keith!
He comes in, and does he not hit the best suplex of the night?
I was shocked. I couldn't believe he could wrestle.
Come on, they had to have been training him on this suplex like crazy.
Well, you know what it was? Is apparently at one point Toby Keith went and did 3 months at the power plant.
Oh, that's probably it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So he actually is a trained wrestler, not to the point that I'd be booking him for shows, but for a celebrity to come up and pop a
celebrity move. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he just picks him up, kind of does probably a 3-4 second delayed vertical suplex.
Yeah.
And just drops him, and it looked really good.
It was clean. It was good.
I was super impressed. And then both Toby and Scott Hall grab Jarrett, and they throw him over the top rope.
Yeah, and then Scott Hall exits over the middle rope to get out of the match.
Toby does.
Yeah, sorry, Toby Keith does.
He never actually got eliminated.
Yeah, and as far as I know, he has never been thrown over the top rope in an NWA or TNA ring since, which would mean he is at 16 years and 4 months in that Royal Rumble.
5 months.
5 months?
It's November now.
Yeah.
Almost 5 months.
16 years and 4 months he's been in that Rumble.
Yeah, hey man, he's even better than Curtis Axel.
I think he's got he's not super relevant right now. I think he has a legit claim to go after Nick Aldis as a number 1 contender.
Keith the Mania, baby.
Yeah, Keith the Mania.
Oh,
do it in someone's backyard, barbecue, drinks, red solo cups.
Aldis versus Keith, backyard solo cup match.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Special guest referee Norman Smiley to do the wiggle.
Yeah, so then comes out the Wildcat Chris Harris, who isn't fat yet.
Yeah.
Because when he went to WWE, mother God, that was his biggest problem. Oh, Jesus.
A lot of guys seem to have that problem. A lot of guys show up at the Fed and they've got a gut.
Have you ever seen the video? There's this, I can't remember what the name was for him in WWE.
No, I don't think so.
There's this, because remember he spent like maybe a week or two there, or like a couple weeks actually on the main roster.
Yeah.
And Braden Walker, and it's, if you go on YouTube, watch the definitive. It's like the definitive, like it's like a pretend ad for a DVD about Braden Walker, and it's literally just him introducing himself over and over again, and then his like one entrance to the ring. Greatest video you will ever see.
It kind of sounds like an Eva Marie DVD.
Oh no, Eva Marie would have more on her DVD. I guarantee it.
That's awesome.
If you get a chance, look up Braden Walker on YouTube. It's hilarious. But then, so Chris Harris comes out, and I will say this: I was very impressed by Chris Harris in this match.
Yeah, he did good.
Yeah, he did really good. So then out comes the Vampire Warrior, otherwise known as Gangrel, who
Early.
entered very early. But yeah, he entered early. Simple as that.
By like a while.
Yeah,
It wasn't a couple seconds.
Maybe 20 seconds after Chris Harris.
Yeah, like
And then-
a good minute early.
Yeah. Then out comes Devon Storm, also known in WCW as Crowbar.
Yeah.
And then this is where Scott Hall, when they're fighting, Scott Hall just goes and just chills in the corner.
Yeah, that
He
was
just
so
kinda
cool.
leans into the corner while everybody else is fighting, just sits there, just like, do. Then just goes and sits on the top rope. Do. Then just comes down and starts brawling. I was like, yeah, this guy's just the coolest man in that ring.
Yeah, and like again, because like Apollo was sort of looking expectant the whole time he was sitting there, he looked dumb. Scott Hall was just like, all right, nice little lean back, kicks his feet up for a second, takes a little sit, then he's like, all right, back in it.
Yep, simple. Yeah. Then out comes current WWE trainer Steve Corino.
Yeah,
Yeah, who
was the only guy that held
like
an
CM
NWA
Punk,
title
baby.
before that.
And looking like CM Punk, baby.
Yeah,
Look like an early CM Punk. And yeah, I love Steve Corino.
yeah,
My love for Steve Corino is from his commentary in ROH and New Japan. But I love Steve Corino. He's simply one of the best guys in the world. And when he comes in, when he does a bunch of his moves, like Mike Tenay is referencing a lot of Japanese stuff, which is where he took a lot of influence from his career from, was Japanese wrestling.
yeah. I found it interesting actually that Mike Tenay was doing the references to the Japanese stuff in this match, but like earlier matches he was miscalling enziguris and stuff like that.
It's also a research thing too.
Yeah, I feel like he did research for calling Steve Corino, but like he was missing some move names, tons of them.
I agree with that 100%. So after that, one of the baddest men on the planet, Ken Shamrock, comes out.
Yeah.
And then out comes entrant number 21, the final entrant in the match, Mr. Brian Lawler Christopher.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, when they called him there was where they called him Lawler and then immediately called him Christopher after.
That's why I call him Brian Lawler Christopher.
Perfect.
So from here, we get the elimination of Chris Harris by Brian Lawler. And he just tosses him out. Then Devon Storm is eliminated by, it's that where Lawler's against the ropes, and then Devon Storm runs at him, and Lawler drops down, pulls the rope down, and he goes over. Then Vampire Warrior does the exact same thing for him.
Yeah.
And then Steve Corino, he's fighting back and forth with Lawler, and then Lawler just clotheslines him out. Then Brian Lawler is grabbed by Shamrock and just thrown out of the ring.
Yeah, just dumped out.
Yeah, just got a few eliminations, tossed out. You can't beat Malice's record.
Yeah, we got to keep something for some kind of a history book.
Yeah, so then the last four, which is Apollo, Scott Hall, Malice, and Ken Shamrock, fight for a little bit. Then Apollo gets eliminated by Malice via back body drop.
Yeah.
Then again, more fighting. Then Scott Hall sets up for an outsider's edge close to the ropes as if he on Malice. Just like as if he's gonna outsider's edge him out of the ring, but then just gets back body dropped over the top rope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting the championship rules match.
Yeah, and we get down to our final two, which is Malice versus Ken Shamrock for the NWA Heavyweight Championship. And
neither of them knows what the hell they're doing.
Shamrock versus the Wall, baby. Woo!
Yeah.
Everybody's dream main event, right?
Watching watching Malice slash the Wall trying to work a submission match, it was kind of obvious it was like maybe his second or third time ever.
Yeah, it was
Like
not,
submission style match, not a submission match, but
because he didn't sell the submissions for very long afterwards.
no,
That's the thing.
he basically got out of like an ankle lock at one point and just like was walking on the foot completely fine.
Like he hobbled, he kind of misstepped for like about a couple steps and then was fine. So we
But, like,
started. Go
You
ahead.
can kind of tell almost that Malice is used to working sort of like a no-sell style.
Yeah, because he's a big dude. He usually
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So the match starts. Malice just hits a big boot out of nowhere. Malice then hits a huge side slam for a 2 count. Then a suplex from Malice for another 2 count. Then he runs Shamrock into the corner. Then he Irish whips Ken, and then Ken goes for like the sunset flip.
Yeah.
But like Malice, instead of jumping like boat up, he just punches Shamrock in the face. I like that. Just punches him in the face.
It's the big man approach. When you get a sunset flip, they shake their feet when they try to pull your thighs down, and then you either grab the back of the head and punch them, or you fall back. One of the two.
Or you sit.
Or you sit.
Yeah, but he just like punch, done. So, and then Malice goes for the choke slam, and he lifts him up for the choke slam, but then Ken Shamrock reverses beautifully, and I will say this beautifully because it was very not well done, into an armbar attempt.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And during this armbar, I swear Malice taps out.
You think?
Because at one point he slaps like Shamrock's knee, like a couple times.
Yeah, but
I know it wasn't actually a tap out.
Yeah, but when he does the tap, I think he's just telling Shamrock to loosen up a bit.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I don't think it was like to be like, hey, because knowing Shamrock, he might put stuff on a little bit too tight.
Well, he's been training for a long time to put it on to hurt you.
And you got to remember, only a year later, a couple years later, he'd be heading back to a year or two later, he'd be heading back to the UFC again.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't the guy's constantly training in MMA. So when he puts a submission on, and the guy is known to actually hit people.
Yeah.
It's just his training, right?
He's a stiff worker.
Yeah. It's simple though. It's what he's trained to do. Is trained to actually fight. So yeah, and then but Malice gets to the ropes. Malice then gets up and he's using the left hand for a second, but then he just starts using the right hand for punches. I'm like, great way to sell, bud.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know. It was weird. It was that era of like trying to bring in UFC fighters to like put legitimacy on your belt to make people sort of believe again.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of the guys that didn't have any kind of MMA training weren't used to like that style of submission being thrown on them.
No, because that was a legit armbar, just not applied fully.
I mean, like if you look at the submissions that guys have been using since like the beginning of wrestling practically, and you got stuff like the figure 4 leg lock, which in an actual like jiu-jitsu setting or wrestling setting, it puts the guy who's putting it on in a bad place because he's got a heel hook open now, and the guy who's actually getting it applied to him is in the better position.
Oh yeah, and like, really, it's a little bit of pressure on your knee, but not a lot.
Yeah, and there is some stuff like the Walls of Jericho, Boston Crab sort of thing. That, like if you get that put on you, if you somehow fall into that, it'll make you tap out. It's a good spine stretch, but
yeah, but you got to look at it.
People are used to selling like fantastical submissions as opposed to the gritty real stuff, right?
But even today, looking at Ronda Rousey, who is the queen of the armbar,
yeah,
she doesn't even put a proper armbar anymore. She puts in a key lock. They call it an armbar, but it's a key lock. And it's just like, because come on, we've all seen an armbar done by Del Rio only a few years ago. That was a proper armbar.
His armbar was sweet. She doesn't put an armbar on. I always liked the setup for Del Rio's armbar.
Because of the spin into it, I loved it.
I always liked that little flip over.
And Ken did it like that, but he did it in the air. He kind of did that flip into it.
Yeah.
And it looked good.
Yeah, it did.
So Malice, after he stops selling the punches, he goes for a big boot, but then Ken just catches it and turns it into an ankle lock.
Yeah. And that's the one where he didn't sell the ankle.
Yeah, so he hooks the ankle lock. Malice gets to the ropes. Ken just pulls him off and keeps the ankle lock on. So Malice gets back to the ropes, but Ken won't break the hold. And then, like, because remember, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is the referee for this match, so he gets into Ken Shamrock's faces and pushes him off.
Well, he does a 7 count.
Yeah, like he gets to 5
like,
and then just yells
it's
at
like,
him.
do you not understand what's going on?
Oh, it was so dumb.
But
like, he
again,
got to the 5 count, but
this
he's
was
like,
a guy coming from UFC back when guys weren't coming from UFC.
yeah, but like, he got to the 5 count, but he couldn't disqualify him because that's not how the match is supposed to end.
It wasn't the finish.
Yeah, so it's so dumb.
Yeah.
So Ken then starts kicking and attacking the injured leg, and then Ken goes and whips Malice to the corner, and Malice is not selling the leg at all.
Yeah.
Not even a bit.
Not even a bit.
Ken Shamrock runs in, but then literally Malice lifts up the leg that he was getting cranked on and just big boots him in the face. I'm like, okay, way to no sell.
Well, it's like I said before. He's not used to working a submission-style match.
No. So then Malice goes for the chokeslam, but Ken reverses and gets him into the Bailey to belly suplex.
The Bailey to belly?
So this means Bailey...
I'm a hugger!
But this means Bailey could beat Malice.
I mean, obviously.
Come
She's
on.
one of the 4 horsewomen.
Because Ken Shamrock hits the Bailey to belly and gets the 3 count. And Ken Shamrock is the new NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
And he celebrates, and it's a true celebration because this is the first time, like I know he won the Intercontinental title in WWE,
yeah.
but this is his first world title.
Yeah.
And this is legitimately one of the, if not the second greatest world championship in wrestling history. If you think about it, to number 2 to being the WWE title.
Yeah, I would make the argument that in early wrestling history, and especially even coming up now again, it's a really important title.
Like up till 1990, about 1990, it was the biggest world. It was the number 1 world title in wrestling history.
Yeah, and then it took a wayside to WWE.
It fell off in the 90s. It got the resurgence in the early 2000s from TNA, but it's finally just now.
Did it really
rebuilt.
Though? The resurgence from TNA in the early 2000s, like, it never put it past the WWE at that point.
Oh, not even close.
Not even close. It was maybe 3rd place behind the World Championship at WWE as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. But arguably due to history, like he's winning essentially either the number 1 or number 2 most prestigious world championships in wrestling history.
Yeah, well, he's winning the title that Harley Race held. That's a big deal.
The title that Cody Rhodes would eventually hold.
The title that Cody Rhodes would eventually make relevant again.
Yeah, for a month and a half.
Hey man, he brought it on New Japan. That was the first time that ever happened.
No, Rob Conroy defended it in New Japan years ago. He defended it on a Wrestle Kingdom show.
Okay, actually, I thought Cody was the first time that had ever been brought.
No, it's been there multiple times. They had a whole partnership with the NWA for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you learn
I look
something
like
every
an
day. So the NWA vice president comes out to congratulate him, and then a few legends are on the outside, and they're congratulating Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the back, and it shows Toby Keith and Jackie Fargo fighting with Jeff Jarrett.
Now
yelling back and forth.
Key thing to remember here: didn't cut to a cage girl first.
No, there's no more cage girl cuts. Thank God. Wow. So then they cut back to the ring, and then Jarrett comes out. He's complaining about the result, pissed off that it, again, says it's dumb that it was a battle royal for the title. Asks a couple like Bullet Bob and a couple others, did you guys win your world titles in a battle royal? This is stupid, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then he attacks a couple of the legends. Then Fargo and Keith come out, and they're trying to fight with Jarrett, but security's breaking it up. Then Scott Hall comes out. And then all of a sudden, the commentator's saying, next week it's going to be Scott Hall and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, just calling a match.
Just out of nowhere. It's like, Mike Tenay's just like, I'm making this match.
Yeah.
And then it cut to black.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that was it.
I
NWA TNA-1 in the books.
In the books. And I really wish it would have just went off the air with Ken Shamrock celebrating.
Yeah.
I didn't think you really needed the setup for Scott Hall and Jeff Jarrett the week after.
You could kind of tell that, like, they wanted to push Scott Hall and Jeff Jarrett as, like, the faces of the company. And so it seems kind of dumb to not have one of them pick up the title and have the other one chase, but...
why isn't one of them the world champion then if you want to push them as the number one guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, they didn't set up a match for Scott Hall there. They didn't set up a match for Ken Shamrock there, and it's like,
no.
You didn't set up the next title defense, but you set up a bunch of, like, feuds that are non-title. Why bother?
Okay, if you think about it, Brian Christopher and K-Crush, and then Scott Hall and Jeff Jarrett, they could brawl, and then eventually whoever wins gets to be the
number one contender. Yeah.
So it does set up matches to set up challengers. And so that's,
yeah.
And you know they're building around Jeff Jarrett because you see for the next,
10 years?
Well, at least the next 4 years would be very Jeff Jarrett centric.
Yeah.
Up until 2006 when Kurt Angle came in, it was very Jeff Jarrett centric.
Yeah.
I think he won like 5 or 6 NWA World titles in that run.
Oh, yeah, he wanted to be Ric Flair.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But overall, what did you love? Did you enjoy the show or not?
It's sort of one of those things I enjoyed it despite, like, the dressing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I found that first X Division match, the work rate was insane. AJ Styles was so clean. Even the guys from the Flying Elvis were really impressive. I wish that they had a better gimmick.
Yeah, we all do.
I thought, obviously, it's the times as far as the women and the midget matches go. It's sort of whatever. They're going to be there. They're not going to be very good. Fine.
Yeah.
As bad as it was a match, the Johnsons match was actually kind of fun to watch.
Yeah. The ridiculousness sometimes is enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly.
And for me, that match, it was seeing James Storm in his early days.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, seeing James Storm in his early days was cool and stuff like that, but it was like I had heard of the Johnsons before, and I really did want to see them.
Yeah.
And although they weren't good, like, they're giving us great fodder for horrible puns. So.
Oh, very much so.
How sad can you be, right?
Yeah, it's true.
I
had some good time talking about that match.
Yeah, it's good. And then that gauntlet / Rumble. I was disappointed by it. I mean, if I was going to give it like a star rating, I'd be like 1.5, maybe 2.
Yeah. For a main event of your first show to crown your number one guy.
Yeah.
I'll say this, at least it came down to Ken Shamrock and Malice, and they had a halfway decent finish to the match.
Yeah, not to the show.
to the show too, or to the match at least.
Yeah.
It was at least a halfway decent way to finish the match.
I would really like to seen Jeff Jarrett go coast to coast and then lose to Shamrock, because it would have fit the storylines better, I feel like.
Yes, 100%.
And, like, it would have made Jarrett's sort of, like, feuding with the Legends more valid in my books.
Yep.
Because, like, him coming out and bitching about it and then still managing to push to the end and then just getting his ass stomped would have been, like, just better, in my opinion.
Yeah, the thing is, they wanted that spot, that Toby Keith spot. That was what I think the Jarrett stuff was all about, was getting Toby Keith his spot. Yeah,
and it really does seem like, you have to be in the context of Toby Keith's a huge star and, like, the world loves him at that point.
Yeah.
Which, like, obviously now I'm not on board with that.
But that spot would get them coverage on SportsCenter and mainstream media. That's what you do that for. Is for the mainstream media, especially when you're first starting out. The more exposure, the better.
Oh yeah, I mean it makes total sense why it happened, but being outside of that era, like watching it now, it doesn't, because Toby Keith's not a big star anymore. Like, I'm sure there's still people who love Toby Keith, but like
I like a few of the songs, but
I would make the argument he's not on the A-list.
No, not
by any means.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a really country guy, so I really don't know if he's an A-list country guy anymore.
Yeah.
He's kind of old. He's kind of old at this point. So, then again, Blake Shelton's old, and he's still a star.
He was sexiest man alive. Like what? 1 year, 2 years ago?
Yeah, but I overall enjoyed this show for more of a nostalgia feel than going back and watching a lot of this older stuff. Is what I enjoyed it. Like, that opening match was sick.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Like that one you could watch today and be like, that's a good match.
Yeah, that match would work well in today's setting too.
Yeah, of course.
the rest of the show was a 2002 wrestling show.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, and like I at that time didn't watch wrestling, so like I didn't really get to experience like the product in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, this is actually when I became a fan roughly 1999.
Yeah.
But 2002 was when I became a hardcore fan of pro wrestling. But I didn't know about TNA. I was a hardcore fan of WWE because the work rate in WWE in 2002 got really, really good. So I don't know. It's just, and then I became a fan of these guys a couple years later. But I've seen this show a few times. This first episode. But a lot of the stuff from this episode till about late 2004, I haven't seen a lot of. Yeah,
no, I mean, like I told you, like a long time ago, I started watching pretty much around the time that the Nexus happened.
Yeah, so 2010, 2011 area.
Yeah, sort of in there. And like at that point, I was still purely in the dub as far as the stuff I watched, and then I got sort of drawn towards the New Japan stuff when Fergal Devitt left.
Yeah, that'd be about 2014.
Yeah, so yeah. I've only recently sort of started looking at the indies, and like TNA I saw bits and pieces of when it was on TV, like on Spike, but
yeah,
it was never something I followed.
But that's a lot of fans. Like there's a lot of fans out there that have never really seen a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of this stuff is hard. It is hard to find. Like I found a place where I can see it all, but it is not easy to find. So if you do want to see this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, message me on Twitter at @ThatCanadaGuy or on Instagram at @ThatCanadaDude, because I will send you the links to these videos.
Yeah, and I mean there is some stuff popping up. Like there's more streaming services available for stuff that's in the indies as well.
Like if you want to pay the global the Global Wrestling Network, TNA stuff, I'm pretty sure you can find this stuff on there.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
And this is their library. TV as well for a lot of pay-per-views for stuff like All In was on that.
Yeah.
But All In Double or Nothing will probably be on that if that's what they call it, because they should.
Yeah, they should. All right, Nick, thank you very, very much for joining me this week. I had so much fun talking to you about this show.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in again this week. In 2 weeks' time, the next show I will be doing will be with my good buddy and friend of this podcast, Andreas, and he will be coming on to talk with me about the TNA Weekly Pay-Per-View number 2, and we'll be breaking down the Lingerie Battle Royale.
Woo!
Yeah, so Nick, thank you very much for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on Total Nonstop Anarchy. This one has been so much fun, and I'm now in the asylum, and I'm not going to be checking out for any time soon. Have a good night. Have a good day.